Can you guys feel it? Because I can absolutely feel it. It's been in the air for a little while now. The Chiefs' season is over. They've won the second Super Bowl in a row. And now it's time to see how they can get better. Who can they add in this year's draft to really elevate their team to get it to back to that three-peat level that the Chiefs are already talking about, that they've been talking about since they won their second straight Super Bowl. Welcome into the RGR Football Channel. My name is Daniel Harms, Senior Film Analyst, and today we kick off our prospect series with none other than Oregon wide receiver Troy Franklin. I've been talking about him for a while. He's absolutely a fit. We're going to break down his game, what he does well, what he already can do at the NFL level, how it translates from what he did at Oregon to the Chiefs. He's listed at 6'2", 170 pounds. With the combine coming up later this week, we'll see exactly what he comes in at with the height and the weight restrictions, but we know this guy is a speed demon. He can absolutely fly. So look for him this week to set a very low number, like sub 4.4 in the 40-yard dash. Let's go ahead and break down the film because I know we've been waiting about it. We've been talking about it. And this, again, is one of those players that really just highlights a lot of different things about these wide receivers and about himself. And one of the things that Oregon did very well is those first read RPO looks where he's the guy that's running those sit routes. So this is going to be a very common thing that we're going to see from the Chiefs too. They like to run these combo routes where you have the either jet receiver or the running back get to the flat a little bit, and then they have a little sit route. So they come over here and they sit underneath that linebacker or these two safeties. So what we have from here, the Washington defense here, if I can get the right color, we'll just do this. The Washington defense is going to play a little bit of cover 4. So you have these DBs are going to be essentially off, and they're playing more of this keep top on kind of thing. So underneath, you have quite a bit of space. And the way that this is going to work out, again, is that jet receiver coming over, going to widen that underneath number 3 defender. And all you're going to see from Troy Franklin is he's going to wait for that guy to cross his face. He's going to sit in that zone. It's an RPO, so they have to get the ball out quickly. I like to see that from the Oregon wide receiver. He was one of the best players in the country against zone. Let me just go back really quick for you guys so you can see where he's lined up down at the bottom of your screen here. And one of the things that you're going to see a lot of, specifically from me, is when you have these wide receivers, they're lined up on one side or the other, and they have inside leverage. How are you going to run a route that breaks to the inside and create that space for yourself? How are you going to do that? And this is one of those areas where Troy Franklin does a really nice job. So we have, again, that ability here to just move to the inside. And he's going to kind of release this out to the inside, but also work up the middle of his seam, his stretch right here. And he's going to make this cornerback try and figure out where he's going because he gives himself a little bit of a two-way go. When he releases to the inside, he can really go up and out because he has that speed, or he can stop a little bit and then break over the middle of the field, which he does. And you can see that all of this is working for Troy Franklin early on. Oops, sorry guys. I'm still working with the touch screen here, so we're trying to make it work the best we can. And what you see again at the top, he's just going to stop right here, make that corner think that he can just break off at the top and go up the sideline on the left. He breaks open over the middle of the field on that dig route. It's just a really nice combination of how can you create space for yourself against inside leverage. You see this all the time. Granted, this is off coverage. He eats up space very well. Nice catch right there over the middle of the field. And then you have him once again up here at the top of your screen working against an inside leverage defender. There's nobody back here at all. There's no defenders anywhere near him in the back of that offense. So we're just going to get to see him really quickly here run this. Understanding body language is a huge part of playing wide receiver, and what he does so well here is just as he tempos his release, it's not extremely long. It doesn't have much to do with technicality, honestly. It's just a very quick read the body. So what do we have here? What do we see from this defender? Well, first off, you're going to see again that he is leveraged to the inside. So you have a little bit of inside give right here off the bat. And what this is going to do, again, you're going to see Franklin work to the inside, and then this cornerback's going to kind of open his gate a little bit. We call it opening the gate when you take those hips and you open towards whichever way you're going to start running. Okay, so he's going to open up the gate immediately. And obviously we see, again, there's no defense back here. So Troy is like, okay, well, if you're going to open up to the inside when I'm coming off this release here, I'm just going to release to the inside and blow right by you downfield for a big touchdown. Sorry. Working through these technical difficulties with this touchscreen here, but I like the flexibility it gives me. So again, you're going to see just that little read the body. He opens up just a little bit with that back right foot, steps towards the outside. Franklin sees that, releases to the inside. Just want to mention here that he does let the ball travel a little bit too far for my liking. Obviously, it's a deep ball. That corner does recover, but you do see that he's waiting on that ball to drop. It's not a huge problem, right, in this play. Sometimes when you have an underthrow, like you do see quite a bit from Bo Nix or some of the other quarterbacks in the league and the NFL and things like that, when you have those underthrows, you can force some incompletions based on how they recover. So just want to mention that really quickly. So at the bottom of your screen, you've got Troy Franklin right here, just watching how differently he breaks down. So the different ways that he tempos his routes, that he gets to the outside, and that he's really able to create different paths to success. So this release, again, it's not going to be I'm selling a deep route. I'm not going to sell much anything, but I'm just going to tempo. So we come out a little bit quickly. Now I'm going to take a couple of steps inside, outside. Those hips break down very, very quickly. That's what I like to see. So we know there's lots of different ways to run a curl route. And what Troy Franklin just wants to do is he wants to come out here and get back to the football, but he does it in a very unique, different way where he's going to, again, tempo that release. So he's going to come up, get square a little bit, make that corner think that he might take off to the inside. He might go straight up the field. Any one of these outcomes is a possibility here, but it's nice to see the different ways he's going to kind of release out and then give it a little bit more, stop a little bit at the top, and then come back. So all those different ways of attacking a corner in one-on-one coverage that he's able to provide, all the nuance that he's showing really at a junior level is very impressive at that junior level. So there's all those different tempos, the route variations, the stem variations, the release packages. Those are all really important, and he shows them time after time with different ways that he attacks. Now, this is part of the negatives of Troy Franklin. When we get to see him running his tree, when he's running down the field, the ball tracking is very inconsistent, and that's one of my big concerns because he had 7 drops this year. It was among the most, specifically the most among these top wide receivers in this class. So we're trying to find out why, right? So the ball tracking over his left shoulder right here is where he's going to get lost the football. And a lot of his drops did happen on these big throws down the field, which does relay itself to a little bit of ball tracking problems. It's inconsistent. Now, he's shown the ability to find the ball downfield, but this is just one of those drops in the bucket that you have to be able to catch. And again, the ball placement's to the outside left shoulder. Bo Nix throws this away from any defender that could possibly get it. And again, he's just got to come down with this football, and he does. And he doesn't, and that is a concern. It's really kind of littered into his film, and it's a red flag for me specifically. We've seen, specifically in Kansas City, McCole Hardman, MVS, some of these guys down the field had the inability to track the football consistently is a point of concern, and that's something we're not trying to replicate. So, but just for a little point of order, versus man coverage this past season, which is, cover 1, cover 2, cover 0, Troy Franklin had 40 targets and 23 catches for 504 yards and 5 touchdowns. And like I said, 5 of the 7 drops he had this year came on those types of plays. And I'm go ahead and say deep down the field because you're catching 23 balls for 504 yards, which was 3rd most in college football last year, mind you. You're having some problems tracking the football. So all of that said, he also caught 5 touchdowns on those balls as well. So a guy, when the play is man coverage, either off coverage or cover 0, he's going to find a way to get open, and he routinely did that, much like he does on this play right here. It's just off coverage, stem, straight, sell the vertical route, and break on the post. And this is what I mean by the inconsistencies. This is a really good sell from Troy Franklin down the field, not turning his shoulders at all and making that corner think about what's going to happen. So, like, again, you're going to see here, this is just straight down the field. That's not a straight line. But you know what I mean. He's going to sell this straight. And this corner has to think. And plus, we're going to see right here, his eyes, he knows there's nobody deep down the middle of the field right here. So I have the ability to just take this and then go all the way down. And that's exactly what he does. It's a really nice job tempoing it properly. He's not blowing by that corner. He's not exploding off the line. He does eat that space up quickly, though, and then he really hits those afterburners after he stacks or really becomes parallel with that cornerback. So you like to see that ability as well. You mirror that and you pair that with his stem and his release packages, all the different things that he has in his toolbox from an off perspective, from a space perspective. And we're talking about a guy who's very fluid, who understands leverage, can see all of those space qualities from a wide receiver perspective and how he can get himself down the field. And then again, he does wait for that ball to travel just a little bit too much for my liking, but he comes down with this one down the field, and it is a big play. So, like, I'd like to see him maybe stop and try to catch that, but he did have some body catches, quite a few of them on his tape. So that's just something that I'm really looking forward to seeing, specifically at the combine, in those drills where he's running down the field and you just got guys throwing the ball at you and throwing the ball at you and throwing the ball at you and see how you're going to catch it in all variations of where it's going to end up. So we're going to see a lot of tape from him against Washington, specifically because I believe Washington gave him a lot of trouble against man press coverage, things that he didn't face a ton of his last season here. And what we're going to see here, this is his go-to release against a lot of these plays. Specifically, you're going to see him just take a jab step to the outside. He's going to kind of release a little bit, jab, and then go to that quick slant. The corner does not bite on it. He doesn't see any of it. And it's his go-to. He doesn't have a ton of different releases from this press coverage alignment. And he again, it's his go-to. So you see that corner kind of waiting on it. He waits for it. He takes that step back, but he's also not opening his hips. So Franklin now is across his face, but he's not able to generate any separation because he's not really trying to do anything different. And that is something that, again, was on his tape quite a bit. And like we're going to see right here at the bottom of your screen, this is another thing. This one is Jabbar Muhammad, the cornerback from Washington, who they now transferred to Oregon. Funny story, is a very good player. A lot of times you see Oregon isolate Troy Franklin on one side or the other, and they want to throw him the ball. One thing that I really want you to pay attention to as I wind this play backward is how is Bo Nix getting ready to throw this football. So right here, it looks like this, again, is an RPO. It's not maybe not an RPO, but it's a play action fake. And he wants to throw this ball down the field now. He wants to throw this all the way down, so it probably should be a release to the outside and go down the field quickly. But we're going to see right here from Franklin is that he makes it a problem because he's going to try and do too much with his this is kind of how it works out, and he ends up coming back to the football here. But it's a lot to do with him against man coverage getting in his own head. So again, you're going to see Bo Nix right here. He's already winding up. He wants to throw this football. He wants to do it now. He wants to throw it down here. He's got speed and a little bit of a size advantage on the cornerback. He's a little bit smaller than Franklin at 6'1", 6'2". So he wants to throw that football. He thinks, I got the guy with speed. I'm going to take advantage of it. And it didn't end up working out that way. And we get to see, again, him pump fake, which is not what he wanted to do. So he ends up having to throw a back shoulder throw to Troy Franklin here, who does too much to try and get open. You need to figure out what you're going to do. Release to the inside, release to the outside, and go. In this situation, he does a little bit too much, and Muhammad's not phased at all, not even a little bit, and we end in a little bit of a stalemate where the cornerback wins that matchup. Right here, again, you guys, we get to see Troy Franklin in a one-on-one situation, which they love to do. we see now Muhammad's in the off position, not his best. And we're going to see exactly why right here with a nice route combination from Troy Franklin, who again finds a way to get open over the middle of the field on a corner who's got inside leverage. This one's a little bit different, but I wanted to show you guys this against Muhammad because I think this was the best cornerback he played against all season, and he did give him some trouble specifically at that press man alignment. So we're going to see him release to the inside out here and then give it a little bit at the top of his route, make him, again, make that corner think that he's going to go out, but then watch how he accelerates through his break and gets open over the middle of the field. This is one of those things about Franklin that I absolutely love. And he does all types of different things. So he's going to accelerate, and then he stops. He slows up a little bit, and then he breaks down and then accelerates over the middle of the field. So really quickly, just watch at about 1, 2, 3. He's going to slow it down right there when he stands up a little bit, and then he breaks down and opens over the middle of the field. That's nuance. That is, once again, showing that cornerback I have different ways of creating space for myself. I'm isolated on this side. I'm going to accelerate out, slow up, and then I'm going to accelerate through a break. That is very impressive. It's, again, all of that understanding of space and timing and how maybe I have some time on this play to go ahead and make a little bit of space for myself and create it over the middle of the field. But Troy Franklin is just a big downfield player. So I didn't show you guys where he was on that play. My bad. I don't want you trying to figure out exactly where he is, because some of this tape is a little bit far out, specifically the ones from the Washington perspective. They have those guys way up in the boonies recording these tapes here. So you see him in the slot on the right-hand side. Again, you can't give him this much space to work with. He's too fast. He eats it up a little bit too much, and it's just from there, it's all over. Like, this kind of play right here just shows you that if you're going to play off coverage and be one-on-one without anybody downfield, you're going to get burned by Troy Franklin nearly every single time. And that's something that we, specifically in Kansas City, are really big fans of. You know, Rashee Rice became a big space player this last year. And the way teams are playing off coverage, those two highs, there's a lot more space underneath. So how is he going to be able to take advantage of that? That's something that we can definitely talk about after we get all the way through the breakdown. Now, one area, again, that I'm not super excited about is his play strength. Troy Franklin is much more of a light player. His frame isn't great, and he's not a good blocker. Sometimes you do see him try, but again, top of your screen on this play in the slot, he's going to get bullied by that slot corner, just comes in and explodes through him and then makes the tackle on 2nd and 10 for a 1-yard gain. That's not going to fly with Andy Reid. Like, that kind of stuff isn't going to fly. He needs to get in the weight room a little bit, put on some weight. I do think there's more than enough on his frame to be able to do that, especially if he is 6'1 plus. He's got room to put on a little bit of, muscle. It would be good for him to be able to do that. Now you get down at the bottom of your screen once again, inside leverage with a defender. This is where we see the differences. Again, we saw multiple times where he was instead taking that inside leverage defender up the field. This is where we get to see him yards after the catch. So we have two defenders closing in on us. So you're going to see him right here use his step backward. And yes, in the NFL, you're probably not going to get away with this a ton, but watch his hips, how fluid he moves through these after the catch moves, and he's able to make a guy miss. We saw, MVS kind of get in trouble with this in the Super Bowl, and it was a big loss. This is a much quicker athlete at that position, at the wide receiver position in Troy Franklin. But watch his hips after the catch, okay? This is what I mean. So intention first, catch the ball. All right, he knows where that player is on his outside hip because of where that inside leverage defender was, and so he makes space for himself. He's very good after the catch. I don't think he's as quick twitch because he is a little bit higher hipped with being 6'1" and a little bit, lanky at times, but he has a lot of innate understanding of where defenders are, where they're going to be, and how he's going to be able to get to some of those places on the field. But at the end of the day, you have to have a top over Troy Franklin. You have to. He is one of the premier deep threats in this draft class. And it doesn't matter if he's on the condensed side, that short side of the field, and you're playing either a cover 4 or a cover 2 zone with that guy over top. If you're not over top of him, he's going to clear it. And this is another one of those examples where, yeah, they have an underneath defender, they have a safety over top, but Franklin's speed, you can't forget about it. He's just such a good player down the field that you have to account for him. So for Kansas City specifically, there's a couple of things that he really does well. Finds space. He sits down in those soft spots in zone better than Rashee Rice did coming out. He had to learn it. So that's something we can see Troy Franklin coming in and doing on the opposite side of Rashee Rice, and he can do it now. He can get open. Teams play a lot of zone. We know that teams specifically against the Chiefs will play more man coverage. He's got the speed to be able to beat it. Now, he needs to work on his release packages for that, because if he doesn't, if he has the same exact, I'm going to stutter this outside and cross your face, it's going to get beaten on every single time from these guys that play man. They're more physical. They're more anticipatory. So he needs to work on that specifically, but that's something they can do in Kansas City. Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, and a combination there of even Sky Moore to an extent. I know that a lot of people are down on Sky, but he can help in that regard too, because he's a good release player and a good stem player. That's something that Franklin can come in and do. He does need to get stronger. He just needs to get stronger. The play strength isn't there. The ball winning ability isn't there, which doesn't really matter to me so much in Kansas City because they don't use the jump ball, but specifically downfield, he needs to work on his tracking, get in the room, see from Patrick Mahomes how you're going to be able to find that football over your shoulder. You have to track it in. They're going to take some shots to him. We know that he's going to have to be able to find a way to come down with those if he's in Kansas City. So scheme fit, speed fit, and zone fit. I think he makes a lot of sense if he's there at 32. There's a lot of talented wide receivers in this class, but Troy Franklin makes a lot of sense from, again, a play style, zone, and then yards after the catch ability. With the way that the teams are playing the Chiefs right now, he makes a lot of sense at 32. So Troy Franklin, wide receiver out of Oregon, is someone to watch specifically at the combine. Watch those explosion numbers. Watch his 40. Watch his short shuttle too. All the different ways that he can move and change direction are important for a guy with his size and skill set. So I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown of Troy Franklin. We're going to continue this on more and more. I think next week we'll do another wide receiver, and then we'll get into some tackles. We'll talk about a little bit of defensive players as well, but this is one of my favorite times of year. I hope it is for you guys as well. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that sub button as well as the like. I hope I was able to earn a like from you guys before you head on out, and have yourselves a great day. I'm going to be at the combine, so watch for updates from me on Twitter at InHarmsWay19.